Humanitarian ceasefire to Palestinian factions in Gaza. The truce reveals neighborhoods reduced to rubble as the death toll nears 1,050. Hello, I'm Hazem Seeker. Welcome to Al Jazeera's news center in Doha. The other top stories. Fighting in Libya prompts the U.S. to temporarily shut its embassy and withdraw its staff. And the two brothers helping to paint a different picture of Bosnia-Herzegovina's Roma community. Hello, the United Nations has asked Palestinian factions in Gaza for a 24-hour-long ceasefire extension. The request follows Israel announcing it was prolonging the humanitarian truce for another day. But Israel says it will continue to target tunnels used by Hamas and other groups. Despite the ceasefire offer, fighters in Gaza have been firing rockets and mortars into Israel. Hamas wants the Israeli army to withdraw from Gaza. It's also asking for all the wounded to be evacuated and for people to be allowed to return to their homes. The number of Palestinians killed since Israel started its offensive on Gaza 20 days ago now stands at 1,049. Most are civilians. More than 6,000 people have been wounded. 42 Israelis and 3 civilians have also been killed in the same period. People inside Gaza use the humanitarian ceasefire to assess the damage that's been inflicted on their homes. They also search for loved ones and their belongings. Nick Schifrin has been to the devastated area of Shujaiya and sent this report.
For the first time in weeks, the Shujaiya neighborhood filled with life. Gazan cowboys corralled their herds. Residents collected food and supplies, and for a few hours, kids were free to be kids. But these moments, these survivors of Shujaiya, are dwarfed by the destruction. Streets closest to the Israeli border are gone. This street is this war's epicenter. Israeli F-16s dropped thousands of pounds of bombs. Palestinian fighters attacked Israeli troops. Their green Hamas flags still flutter from homes they used as bases. Countless homes are now rubble. You can actually see where each room once stood. This used to be a bedroom. Above the rubble, the Escafi family hunt for money or jewelry, anything of value they can use to buy food. Below the rubble, the bodies of Omar Escafi's father and 3 brothers are still buried.
What we have been through is overwhelming. The Palestinian people must remain strong. We must be able to live like other people do.
And this was what? This is where you entertained guests, this area?
Omar's cousin Saeed lives next door. The same strike gutted his house.
The blood of my sister. My sister, she's 25 years old. And the blood of my daughter, she is 7 years old.
He tries to open his kitchen door. It's blocked by debris.
For Arab people, kitchen is a center for the house. We don't buy it from the market. We make it here in the kitchen.
Today, the plates, bowls, and cups may be in place, but they're covered in dust created by the wall that was blown out.
Everyone was scared. Yes, it was a great massacre. Yes, it was a great barbaric massacre.
Deep in this neighborhood, you can really see how violent the fighting was. This is a metal door. You can see the shrapnel the size of my fist went straight through it. Over here, this is a storefront, or was a storefront, and one blast ripped right through the front of it. And this entire area has an acrid smell. The smell is of the blood that stained these roads.
The aftermath in Shujaiya is horrifying. The Beit Lahiyas might be even worse. When we arrived, the damage was still smoldering. Parents carried their children through streets that are now debris fields. And nearby, a family digs through what used to be their home. 11 bodies are trapped inside. In total, medical officials discovered and buried 132 bodies today. Among the lines of old cement gravestones, a fresh grave, dug so quickly the name is written in pen.
Bye!
life returned to this war-torn neighborhood, but residents have seen too much death to stay. This man shows me the missile fragment that landed in his home. He and his family grabbed whatever could fit in his taxi trunk, and for the second time in 2 weeks, fled their home, going anywhere but here. Nick Schifrin, Al Jazeera, Shujaia, Gaza.
The U.S. Secretary of State met diplomats from Europe, Qatar, and Turkey in Paris on Saturday to try and arrange a longer-lasting truce. The Qatari foreign minister says his government remains committed to finding a long-term solution to the Gaza crisis.
The Paris conference did not focus purely on achieving a ceasefire. The conference was an opportunity for us and our brothers from Turkey and our friends from the U.S. to share with the other participants, including the EU, Italy, Germany, France, and the UK, what has been achieved from negotiations in recent days, and an opportunity to explore ways to achieving a result that our brothers in Gaza and Palestine would agree to, namely ending Israel's aggression and lifting the siege. Contrary to what's been reported, Qatar is not opposed to Egypt playing a role. Actually, Qatar and Turkey and all the Arab countries, as well as the other allies, believe that Egypt's role is important. In fact, Egypt should be taking the lead in this crisis. Qatar has not objected. In fact, we made several moves to support the role of our brothers in Egypt.
Robert Hunter is a former White House representative to Arab-Israeli peace talks. He's now a senior fellow at the Center for Transatlantic Relations at Johns Hopkins University. He says Qatar will have to play a lead role in the ceasefire talks.
The country that has the most influence right now is Qatar, because Egypt, being opposed to the Muslim Brotherhood, which has a tie to Hamas, at least Egypt under President al-Sisi. So Egypt's been marginalized. So the three big players are John Kerry of the United States, Ban Ki-moon of the United Nations, and the Qatari leadership. One thing the Israelis, I think, are beginning to look at, and why they have suddenly reversed their position of Friday night, no ceasefire, is I don't think that they can let the U.S. Secretary of State come to the region and go home with a failure. I think the Israelis are beginning to understand that a lot of American opinion is turning heavily against them, and I think they want to get this thing over with before they find any more of these brutal pictures showing up on American television. But Mr. Netanyahu needs finally to understand Israel has nobody except the United States. And if they poke the U.S. Secretary of State in the eye with a sharp stick, as they've done a couple of times before, they did it to the Vice President, they did it to Kerry before, people in Washington, and particularly the American people, are going to start saying, why are we putting up with this? Now, we still support Israel's security, but at some point, Netanyahu has to understand American patience is not inexhaustible. People in Gaza are going to have to stop shelling Israel. But as far as I'm concerned, the Israelis have had a choice for several years. If you want to empower Hamas, continue the blockade. If you want to lead to a process in which the people of Gaza will turn against Hamas, open the blockade, allow aid to come in, help, investment, education, health, all of that. The Israelis keep this going. Why? I have no idea. It's really against Israel's long-term interest to make even more enemies, not just among Palestinians, but throughout the Middle East.